Why do some women become mistresses even when they know a man is married? At first glance, the answer seems simple. Many people assume it's about selfishness, a lack of morals, or a desire to steal someone else's husband. Society often paints the mistress as the villain of the story, a woman who knowingly walks into someone else's marriage and destroys it. But human psychology is rarely that simple. If we look deeper, we find that the reasons women enter relationships with married men are often far more complex, emotional, and psychologically driven than most people realize. This does not mean the behavior is right, or it does not excuse the consequences. But understanding something is not the same as approving of it. One of the biggest misconceptions is that women who become mistresses are always confident, calculating, and manipulative. In reality, many are emotionally vulnerable at the moment the relationship begins. The story often starts with attention. A married man may provide exactly what a woman feels is missing in her life. He listens carefully. He notices details. He compliments her. He makes her feel special. He seems mature, stable, experienced, and emotionally intelligent. Many women do not initially fall in love with a married man. They fall in love with how he makes them feel. Feeling seen is powerful. Feeling understood is powerful. Feeling chosen is powerful, especially for someone who has spent years feeling invisible. The emotional connection often develops before the reality of the situation fully registers. By the time she realizes she is emotionally attached, walking away becomes far more difficult than people imagine. Another reason is the desire for validation. Many people carry hidden wounds from childhood, past relationships, rejection, abandonment, or emotional neglect. When someone desirable chooses them, those wounds temporarily disappear. The attention becomes addictive. The relationship becomes proof that they are worthy, attractive, valuable, and important. Unfortunately, this creates a dangerous dynamic. Instead of evaluating whether the relationship is healthy, the person becomes focused on preserving the feeling it provides. The relationship stops being about love. It becomes about emotional survival. There is also the fantasy factor. Human beings are remarkably skilled at falling in love with potential rather than reality. Many mistresses believe the same story. He doesn't love his wife. They're basically separated. They stay together for the children. He'll leave eventually. I'm different. Sometimes these statements are true. Very often they are not. But hope is incredibly persuasive. People rarely stay in painful situations because they enjoy suffering. They stay because they believe something better is coming. Hope can keep someone trapped for months, sometimes years, sometimes decades. The most painful reality is that many married men never intended to leave. Not because they hate the mistress, not because they don't care, but because they enjoy both worlds. They have stability at home and excitement elsewhere, comfort and novelty, security and passion, responsibility and escape. Giving up either side requires sacrifice, and human beings are often reluctant to sacrifice something that benefits them. Many women believe they are waiting for a decision. In reality, the decision has already been made through the man's actions. Days become months, months become years. Promises remain promises. Nothing changes. Another psychological factor is competition. This may sound uncomfortable, but some individuals unconsciously see relationships as a form of validation through victory. If a married man chooses them, they feel superior, more attractive, more desirable, more important. The relationship becomes less about the man and more about what winning represents. The problem is that relationships built on competition rarely create lasting happiness. Eventually, reality arrives, and reality is much less romantic than fantasy. There is also the issue of emotional unavailability. Ironically, many people who enter relationships with unavailable partners are unconsciously seeking exactly that. A fully available relationship requires vulnerability, commitment, responsibility, mutual dependence. For some people, that feels terrifying. A married man is emotionally unavailable by definition. There is always a barrier, always a limitation, always an excuse. This allows the relationship to feel intense without requiring complete emotional exposure. The longing itself becomes addictive. The waiting becomes addictive. The uncertainty becomes addictive. Psychologists sometimes compare this dynamic to gambling. You never know when the reward is coming, and that unpredictability strengthens emotional attachment. Every text message feels exciting. Every promise feels significant. Every small moment together feels precious because it is limited. Scarcity creates value in the human mind. The less available something is, the more desirable it often becomes. But eventually, most mistresses encounter the same painful question. If he is willing to betray his wife, what guarantees he won't betray me? That question changes everything. Because the fantasy begins to crack, the reality becomes impossible to ignore. Trust becomes fragile. Doubt grows. And many women realize they have spent years investing in a future that may never exist. The harsh truth is that becoming a mistress is rarely about happiness. It is often about unmet emotional needs, unresolved wounds, loneliness, validation, fantasy, hope, and the powerful human desire to feel chosen. That does not make the choice right, but it makes it understandable. And understanding is important because judgment rarely prevents people from repeating destructive patterns. Self-awareness does. The deepest lesson is this. When someone repeatedly chooses a relationship that keeps them waiting, hiding, doubting, and suffering, the real question is no longer whether the other person loves them. The real question is why they believe this is the kind of love they deserve. Because healthy love does not require secrecy. Healthy love does not require endless waiting. Healthy love does not keep you in second place. And the moment someone truly believes they deserve more than fragments of another person's life, the entire dynamic begins to lose its power. That is often the moment the relationship finally ends. Not because the married man changed, but because the woman finally did.